Hello and welcome. My name is Karen McAllister. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Recruitment for the College of Engineering at the University of Texas at Arlington, and welcome back for another edition of our Ask an Ambassador. We hope that you're doing well, and we have some great topic for you today. Before we get too far into our topic, I'm going to go ahead and let our ambassador of the day go ahead and introduce themselves. Go ahead and take it away, Ishrat.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, my name is Ishrat. I'm currently a master's biomedical student. I got my undergrad at UT Arlington as well in electrical engineering and math. And as you can tell, I'm a little under the weather. So I apologize if I sound a little rough.
No worries. And we also have a wonderful alum joining us as well. Noam, we have you as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Naum Torres. I graduated from UT Arlington in 2016 with a PhD in robotics, and I'm currently working in advanced programs at Lockheed Martin. My passion is part of education and outreach, and so I like to get involved with students at all different grade levels, from K all the way through careers. And so I mentor a lot of students from UTA, and I want to, be able to help people. So I'm here today for that purpose. So ask me anything.
Well, awesome. Thank you. Thank you both for your lovely introductions. So today we are actually talking about how to have an active social life as an engineering major. So that's a pretty important topic because, your well-being and balancing your classes to everything else it's just a challenge sometimes for a lot of our students. So to kind of kick it all off, so I have some questions for you all. So I'm sure everyone has heard about the triangle of college life where you have to pick two of these three things, classes, sleep, or social life, but you can only pick two. So my question for both of y'all would be, did you experience this of having to pick just two things like classes and social life, or were you able to find some sort of balance for yourselves?
So for me, when I was during my undergrad, I had a lot of difficulty finding the balance because sometimes we would just get so much homework and it was so overwhelming. But I would cut out like little pockets of time here and there, like maybe an hour on a Friday night to like go hang out with my friends or grab like a quick dinner with them, and then go back and then do my homework. And then as as I got progressed from freshman, sophomore, junior to senior, the balancing act got a little bit better. And so I was able to do a little bit more with my social life in regards to maintaining close ties with my friends and such. And also, I learned the importance of networking because networking is very important as an engineer, and making those connections and everything.
Yeah, so in my experience, it was also difficult because I served in the military. So coming out of the military and trying to go back to college, in which I had already forgotten everything that I learned in high school. So it was a very difficult for me to sort of just trying to keep up with engineering. And so I spent a lot of time in those engineering clinics that they have, and that's where I made all my friends. And before you know it, I realized that I wouldn't have done it without the help of others mentoring me, and so that inspired me to mentor others as I grew in the College of Engineering through my career in my bachelor's degree. So one thing led to another. I participated in a lot of student organizations, honor societies. I ended up helping on the STEM outreach events at UTA with Dr. Tiernan. So I've been helping her for several years now. But yeah, so it was networking that kind of made everything more possible to balance life and homework and all the study work that you have to do.
Now you just hit on the perfect topic there. So networking. A lot of students have heard about it. They know the word possibly. Of course, we know social networking, but where do you even start with that networking? How do you network if you have never networked ever? What is your advice on that, Noam?
So a lot of people think that networking, in order to be successful, you have to network with people at in advanced stages from where you are, but it's actually more important to network with those that are your peers, because you guys are moving along, you guys get to know each other on what your gifts are, and your capabilities, and so you will end up knowing who's good at what, and you will end up using that person, well, not using, but uh, you will resource to that person, that's a better word, so that you can get what you need to get done quickly. And eventually, and most of the people that I went to school with, I'm now working with them. So it also translates into the industry, right? So then I know this specific people that I work with, and I know how they work, since we were in college. So then I already know what they're good at, and so it builds that stronger relationship.
Absolutely. And thank you for kind of walking us through what that looks like and just the value of that. Ishrad, I've got a question for you on that networking. How have you been able to network in your current time at UT Arlington, and how have you been able to do that maybe in your virtual environment?
Yeah, so I got started networking at at an early point in my career, like during freshman, like the second semester of like my freshman year, and like now we're saying, you don't always have to network with the people who are already in the industry and things like that. Just networking with the people around you can be very beneficial. One of the internships I got was through one of my friends who knew that I was pre-med and wanted to go to med school, and so they knew someone who worked at the hospital, and they ended up helping me get an internship there. And so it's very important to kind of talk to everyone about like your interests and what you want to do, because you never know who might have like a connection somewhere and that they can be able to help you. Because a lot of the times with like engineering, because everybody has good grades, but like sometimes having those connections is like kind of the differentiating factor. And so excuse me, sorry. Alexa, pause. Sorry. Alexa hears my voice and it thinks I'm talking to her. But yeah, networking is super duper important, and just doing it, I think, is very beneficial. And it also gives students, especially engineering students, because a lot of us are introverts, allows them to, try like kind of go out there and kind of like, be social, which is something we don't really do. And sometimes some of us are awkward, and I think it really helps get through that phase, because once like you're a senior and you're doing those job interviews and stuff, it really helps. And it's really beneficial to like know how to interact with someone, and know how to talk to them and how to engage them and things like that. And in regards to the virtual networking, I will be graduating in December, so I am currently looking for a job. And so a lot of my professors and like my friends who because I would like to go on and I hopefully will go to med school next fall. But up until then, I still need a job to, keep paying off my loans and a little bit of my student loans. And so I would like to work at like a research facility, and a couple of my professors have been in the industry. And so I've emailed them, at the beginning of the semester saying, hey, I'm graduating. This is what I'm interested in. Would you happen to have any advice? And a couple of them responded back and they're like, yeah, apply to this. And then after you apply, send me the job number or the job posting number, and I'll see what I can do. So yeah, even with COVID, it's still important to network, because, hopefully COVID will end, and, just maintaining some of those connections can be beneficial in the long run.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. So one of the big things, of course, with networking is finding that avenue and kind of using those resources that you have in your back pocket. So knowing your peers, your friends, your professors, there's a lot of individuals you can start through networking. So y'all are absolutely right on the point of, you don't have to wait for that event. You don't have to wait for an event that says networking event to start that network. It's very critical to start it as early as possible. So for both of y'all, you kind of touched in the part of like that nervousness at the initial trying of like how to network. how would you tell someone to go about networking in terms of getting over maybe that anxiety or that moment of concern of how do I even do this? How do I know if I'm networking properly? How would y'all advise someone on that?
So for me personally, I was super like nervous and anxious, but you know, it also came down to like, you know, what if this person can help me get to where I want to be? Like, what if this one could, you know, and that's what kind of like the reward versus risk. And so that kind of, you know, helped me get through like the initial nervousness of it. And, you know, even now I'm still a little nervous, like whenever I go and talk with groups or do things of that nature. But it's always like, you know, well, what if the benefits outweigh just me not doing this and just, you know, going about my regular day. And so because networking is so important in engineering, I never really realized that because I used to be a biology major and I didn't even hear before, like I was an electrical engineering and I never heard the term networking. And then when it was in engineering, everyone's like, yeah, you should network, you should do this, and you should get a LinkedIn and add people to your profile and things like that. And so, yeah, like it can definitely, I think, make things a lot more easier for you and help facilitate a lot of things. Because when I graduated with my electrical engineering undergrad, a lot of my friends went to like work at Lockheed, and a lot of them got their jobs through like other students who had graduated from UT Arlington and had gone to Lockheed and was like, okay, yeah, you know, this job's opening, and so things like that. And it's really, really important. I don't know how to stress how important it is. I wish it was like, you know, like a class that you took, but yeah, it can have a really huge impact on, you know, your overall, like from your college life to like when you transition to like having a job, it can really make a difference.
Yeah, so for me, the way I see networking is more of a long-term relationship rather than just help me get a job kind of thing. Those have been the most meaningful relationships that I've had that have been able to help me in the long run. And so to me, I have always focused on building relationships, not just for a specific interest that I have, but to have that relationship, to have that friend in, you know, somebody else. And eventually they will end up helping you and helping each other. But to be to not expect anything in return is more beneficial. But if you're expecting something in return, you need to be honest about it. So I often have, you know, students from UTA say, hey, I hear that, you know, you work at Lockheed and you're also a professor here. Can you help me get an internship? I don't have a problem doing that, but the ones that I kind of feel, you know, not so good about is those that try to make a connection without telling me what they want. So they try to be friends, and then all of a sudden, can you get me a job kind of thing, you know? So then they're hiding what the actual intent is, and that's when I feel, you know, different. But I actually feel better when they tell me, can you get me a job? You know, just be, you know, straightforward with what your intent is. If your intent is not to make relationships, then just say, I need an internship, I need a job, you know, can you help me with that? And then I will be able to, you know, assist you in, you know, your current intent that you have with that networking event or situation. But for me, my friends have been the most important network connections. Actually, to get into Lockheed, I stopped counting at 100 applications. So when I hear students that say, oh, I just applied once, it makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes. but so after I applied so many times, it was through my study friend that I had. So I had a study partner when I was in undergrad that was able to submit my resume to someone that needed, you know, to fill a position in robotics or control systems. And so it was through him that, you know, I was able to come into Lockheed Martin. It was not through some, you know, professor or, you know, somebody high in the ranks in Lockheed Martin. It was just my immediate friend that, you know, we spent so many years together studying and getting through engineering together. So I'll say in summary, make the connections for long-term relationships, and be honest if you're not willing to have a long-term connection. Just, whatever your intent is, just say it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more on that. It helps set the basis. It helps you understand what you're trying to get out of the process. That is some wonderful advice from both of you on kind of just like how to even start that process and even network. So kind of switching gears, both of y'all kind of referenced your peers or people you had in study groups. So maybe some of our individuals out there would like to know, where to even start with looking for a student organization. Maybe that's one of the avenues they want to go about trying to broaden their network. So Ishraq, could you maybe explain, where do I go to start even looking for a student organization, like any student organization? Where do I even start that process?
Yeah, for sure. So, MabOrgs is a website that we have at UTA, and it lists all the different organizations we have on campus. So that's one pathway that you could utilize. Also, when you go into Netterman Hall, like the main engineering building, there's just flyers everywhere from different student organizations like IEEE, Society of Women Engineers, the Society of Hispanic engineers, and so there's just a variety of things that we have. And so if you can't find it, you can definitely utilize MabOrgs. I knew when I started EE that I wanted to be a member of IEEE, and they have their own room in Netterman Hall, and so I would always just hang out there. And from IEEE, I would learn about all the other different organizations that other engineers were involved in, and I would be like, okay, well, this is something that I like. And I know one of our previous ambassadors actually started a organization called Engineers Without Borders at UTA, and so that's like a cool thing. So if there's an organization that you want to have that isn't here currently, you can also make your own. And so yeah, there are a lot of options that you do have in participating and getting involved as much as you can.
Wonderful. So my question for both of y'all is, there's always that kind of challenge of trying to figure out how to balance what organizations you should put your time in and invest your time in. So my question for both of y'all is, when a student is going through and trying to pick what kind of student organizations are best for them, maybe best for their resume, best for their network, or expanding their options, do you have any suggestions on how they should balance out some of the social organizations? Maybe it's some of those ones that are special interests of fraternity, sorority life, versus maybe some of the ones that are professional or honors based. Is there any advice you would give on a student on how to pick which avenue, or what advice you might give on how to even start the process of looking at those as different?
Right. So for me, I knew long term that I wanted to go to medical school, and I knew that an honors degree would help me. And so one of the things that I did was I joined Honors Society, the Honors College at UT Arlington. And so when you graduate with an honors degree, it kind of differentiates between a regular degree, because on your actual degree it says honors degree in electrical engineering versus someone else who may graduate. And then you also get the Latin honors on there as well. And so with the honors degree, you do a little bit more, and each semester, you do a certain amount of honors credit hours with your classes, and then what it comes to is you do a research project at the end, and then you present it. And so I knew I really wanted to do that, because that would help me with my medical school applications and kind of help me stand out a little bit. And then in regard to the social organizations that I joined, I really liked outreach. I liked volunteering, and so that's why I did. That's another actually reason why I did Honors College, because they do have a couple of volunteer events. And then also IEEE had some events that they did in which they went to local schools and volunteered and helped little kiddos and tutored them in math and things. So I mainly kept my organizations to maybe 3. I did Honors College, I did IEEE, and I would then do an intramural sport to kind of help me balance my social life and give me a way to release stress and stuff. But I don't know like there are so many people who do so many organizations. I know I'm not one of those people. Like I didn't have that much time to with electrical engineering to dedicate to other things, and so I tried to keep it a little bit small so that I never had to sacrifice study time or anything of that nature. Because school, going to college, school is your full-time job, and I didn't want anything extra to kind of like impede in the way of that or get in the way of that. So.
Yes, so for me, I think it's more important to determine what it is that you can contribute to that organization rather than what the organization can provide to you. And so for my case, I participated in many organizations, and I was able to balance that with my work schedule, not work schedule, but with my workload during my engineering degree. And so, for instance, so I joined SHAP because of the outreach that they were doing. And I also joined IEEE because I wanted to make a difference in the education that we have at UTA. And so I will, propose changes to the curriculum. I would mentor other students that were below me. I also participated in Tau Beta Pi, so then I will, also do mentoring to others in those organizations. And then eventually I will, participate in all, most of the organizations there. But I really wanted to make a difference in education to where the point I became the student representative for the EE department. But it was not, oh, I want to be the student representative. It's because I wanted to make a difference that someone made that position for that purpose. So it's more about what kind of difference you want to make that will make you a better fit in each organization. So in SHAP, I only did outreach. I didn't get too much involved. I didn't have much time for everything else that they do, but that's what I enjoyed in that organization. And the others were more for mentoring and helping others, to be successful in their studies.
Absolutely. So even in my undergraduate and graduate careers, I always found myself trying to find the right organizations that fit my goals in life and how that could further develop me as an individual, and I could find my avenues of giving back. And so y'all hit on some great points of how to balance it all out. So my question for both of y'all now is, let's say that you have found all the right organizations, everything fits, but now you're maybe seeing a disbalance or an unbalanced social life and your classes are maybe taking a little bit more of a backseat. How would you go about lessening maybe some of your social commitments like student organizations if you're realizing it's taking a hit to your academics? How would you advise someone on how to pick and choose which organizations to stay in, or how would someone go about figuring out what to keep and what needs to maybe be put on a wait list?
Yeah, there have been semesters where I've kind of bitten off more than I can chew, and so I would step back a little bit and assess my situation and say, grades. I'm here in college, grades are the topmost priority to me right now, and I would look and see, which organization did I truly want to still be a part of and give my time to, because my time is limited, and so I just had to be mindful of how I kind of dedicated where I spent that time. And so in the heavier semesters, what I would end up doing, I would focus obviously on school, and then I would try to do maybe a month, I would try to do maybe one event with the Honors College or with IEEE. And I would try to ensure that, I had spaced out adequate time to get all my homework and everything finished so that I was able to go to that event and not feel pressured, oh, okay, after this, I really need to go and then get everything done. I tried to space it out and have some time so that, I could enjoy the event and not feel have that homework guilt, oh, I have all this homework back home that I need to finish. And yeah, and a lot of the organizations Honors College, they're super understanding. If you commit to something and then if you have circumstances come up where you unfortunately don't do well on a test and you need to study hard, they definitely get understand that. And so if you ever sign up for an event and you have to you can't do it anymore, they're very understanding of it. However, just the one thing is don't try to make that a habit, because I had some friends who were kind of in the same boat as me. They took on a little too much, and then they would continue to take on too much, and then they wouldn't show up to the events and things like that. And so sometimes people do count on you to be there. So just be mindful of, you know, of your time and others' time and what you can do and what you can't do, because there's only 24 hours in a day, you know?
Yeah, so for me, I created teams. So in undergrad degree was not too bad, but when I went into graduate school, that's when everything started to pile up. You know, I had to teach classes, I had to do my own research, I have to take my own classes, and I have to do grading, and before you know it, my whole day is scheduled to do something. And I still had the passion to help others, so I couldn't just drop one or the other, you know. And I still have to graduate, so I had to make sure that I was successful with my studies. And so I started creating teams. And so for part of my research, I knew I couldn't do everything by myself. So I started recruiting people, and I created the Micro Robotics Club. And so in that club, I will mentor students to do the tasks that I need to get done. And so they learn how to apply what they studied in class, and they're able to see the importance of learning such topics in the classes that they were taking. And so I was able to mentor students. I was able to complete my research assignments, and I also recruited people to do outreach for me. And so I will get in touch with schools around DFW, and then I will send people out. Instead of me doing everything, I just organized, small teams and get everything that I wanted to get done. And so then I became a leader. And I actually became president of HKN, which is the honor society for IEEE, I believe. Now it's part of IEEE. But yeah, so when I was president, I just had to guide people on what we needed to get done. And so having this overload of things that I wanted to do kind of pushed me to be a leader in the college. So that's how I handled it. But then that's because maybe my military background kicked in, and it may not be the same for everyone else, but it could be a good chance for you to develop your leadership skills. So don't just focus on organizations, but you can also join clubs in which you can do this. You can tackle all the things that you want to, focus on. If it's helping others, if it's doing outreach, if it's, just having fun with, racing cars and all that stuff. So get involved, and that's how I took care of, the overwhelming tasks that I had interest on.
Awesome, thank you both. So my next question is going to pivot a little bit into the area of friends and staying kind of connected with your network of individuals. So how have y'all maintained friendships or these networks that you've built in this virtual COVID-19 environment? And what advice would you give to any of our students on really making sure that they find that balance in self?
So Zoom has been a very predominant factor in my life since the pandemic hit. And so a lot of my friends and I, we'll do like, we can't do in-person dinners and things like that. So we'll do like Zoom dinners where maybe we'll order like Italian or something, and one of us will put on a movie and share our screen. And so kind of stay connected that way. And then also GroupMe is a huge messaging app that I've utilized. And so I have like different like groups for like different things. And so we try to stay as connected as possible, but it is pretty kind of like difficult. It's so weird not being able to see someone on like a daily basis, because as this is this is my final semester at UTA, I was gonna definitely like try and make room for all the people that I've done research with and hung out with so much at UTA, and just kind of see them one last time. And now it's just like everything is so virtual. Like you text someone or you do like a GroupMe, you do a virtual session like this. So it's just, I guess, carving out the time and making sure that you make time for those who are important to you. And so with me, I have class every single day. And so like after I get through class, I review my notes, I do the homework or whatever the professor has signed for the day. And then I try to like for maybe 5-10 minutes, like, you know, message on my like close friends and say, hey, you know, how are you? How was your day? And so try to like stay connected with that. And then in regards to the networking, what you were saying, yeah, like the professors who have helped me, or the professors, you know, that I really learned a lot from in my UTA career. I've emailed them and said, hey, you know, thanks for doing all this for me. Like, this is one of my final semesters. Like, I appreciate all you've taught me, because engineering is a hard discipline. And like a lot of my professors, I think I gave them a difficult time. I would go to their office hours so much. And so, yeah, just try to stay in connection with them like through that. And a lot of my professors have also they have LinkedIn's. They're like, yeah, make sure you add me to your profile. And so things like that, so that in the future, like, you know, you can still stay connected. So.
Yeah, for me, I give my phone numbers to my mentees, so I check on them periodically, and just, you know, how they're doing in class, and just to check on them to see how they're doing. And everybody else, we stay connected through my outreach activities, so we get to see each other every once in a while through Zoom or Teams. So it's difficult to not hang out, you know, and, you know, in those events, you know, those where we will go volunteer and then have lunch after, but now we can't have lunch. It's just, you know, everything is virtual, but we'll get through this eventually. But I do have to step away and go into another meeting at work. So it was a pleasure being here, and hopefully I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. All right, so Ishrad, I've got another question for you. So finding that balance, finding a way to still stay connected to one another in this environment, of course, is tricky, and we're all doing the best that we can in every way, shape, form, and fashion. But one of the other challenges we have is still having a normal or the traditional college experience. What kind of advice would you give to someone who is brand new to a college experience on how they can still get that traditional college experience in this virtual environment?
Yeah, so I know UT Arlington, we have some social distance events going on. So if that's something that you're comfortable with going to, then you should definitely, you know, do those and participate. But they also have like virtual events. Like I know there's a group on Teams, like Mav.org something, and they have like different like they have like Mav something, and it's like connection hour or something like that, and you can like kind of meet and like kind of talk and chat with other people. And so they have things like that. And then each, like for the College of Engineering, I know that we have different like things going on. We have brown bag events, we have things like this. So for engineering students, I think the college is doing as much as we can to try and kind of give them that normal experience. But it's definitely different. And to be honest, like I've kind of struggled with it. And I would just say like to like that freshman, you know, like just things won't be like this all the time. Like plan out your long-term goals and see what you kind of want to do. Like I know one of the freshmen I talked to, they really wanted to be a part of the race car team, the Formula SAE team, and they were kind of like, you know, like sad because they can't do as much with it given what's going on. And so I was just like, well, you know, just stay in connection, like join their Mav orgs, make sure you get all their updates because, you know, things might change and you guys can go back to, because they have this big like workroom, they have a big showroom that they can utilize. And yeah, I told them, you know, just stay in connection and kind of like the things that really make you happy, try to like make time for them. And even if like you can't do too much with it, try and stay engaged in it a little bit because, you know, you never know, like next spring, some of the restrictions might lift and you can go back to working on the cars and designing them. And so things like that. And it's just know that better days are coming, I guess. I know it's hard to see right now. Like earlier, one of my, I was trying to connect with a student and like talk with them because they were interested in doing biomedical engineering at UTA. And either his connection kept dropping or my connection kept dropping. And so like he and I were trying to make it. And so finally we scheduled the time for tomorrow and we'll both try to see what was going on. But it's frustrating because he was super interested and I was just trying to talk with him and the connections kept getting dropped. But yeah, you know, like try to get engaged if that's something that you want to do. Like I know Honors College, I looked at their Instagram and stuff, and they're doing things to kind of engage the students and try to give them a normal experience as possible. But I think our definition of normal has definitely changed, and just keep your head up and like try to do like all the virtual events that you can that you want to do. And yeah, I can't even imagine being a freshman right now and like seeing how difficult it is, because when I was a freshman I really wanted to do research, and now even research opportunities, like I know one of my biomedical engineering professors, she's like, yeah, we've enacted social distancing in my lab, and like there was like a couple of freshmen and like sophomores who wanted to start working in the lab, and unfortunately I can't allow them in because the time has to go, like that social distance time has to go to the PhD students and the master's students who have like a degree depending on this. And so, that kind of made me sad, because I really like research, and it kind of, it changed the way I thought about things. It definitely impacted my life in a big way. And if I hadn't gotten involved in such an early time, I would have never known how much I liked it. So, hopefully we're going to adapt with COVID, and, hopefully things get better.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on some great things of looking around and looking at some of the social media of many of these areas. So Instagrams, their Facebooks, their Twitters. It's another way to engage with many different aspects of college. And I would say, in my experience, the traditional college experience is unique to each individual, and it's what you want to make of your experience. So absolutely, if it means looking at certain organizations that are more professional based, because that's something you really want to get involved in, that's a great avenue. Maybe it's wanting to get more involved in the social aspects, like a fraternity and sorority or a special interest group. Whatever it might be, there's many different avenues, and there's still so many ways to engage. It just might be through a virtual platform, or it just making it a little bit different. And looking at their social media really does help you kind of gauge when they're doing events, how they're interacting with individuals. And one of the biggest things is just kind of challenging yourself to put yourself out there and get engaged with them. That means maybe joining some of those chats and just introducing yourself. No one is putting you under any pressure to have a whole long monologue about yourself, but maybe just saying, hi, I'm here, this is who I am. And that's just a great way to kind of get yourself connected to the campus and kind of have that more traditional college experience that I think that many people really think they really need to have. So my next question for you is really in the avenue of that social aspect of social-based organizations. Fraternities and sorority lives are different student organizations that are maybe non-academic based or non-honors based. How do you go about finding those? Do those cost money? What does that look like for someone?
Yeah, so for sure. So fraternities and sororities, they do cost money. I believe they have a fee every semester. Unfortunately, I did not take part in those, so I don't know fully, but one of the previous ambassadors did, and I think, yeah, she had to pay a fee every semester. So there is a cost associated with it. However, from what I've been told, fraternities or the networking is really, really great. And, you can connect with members who are on other parts of the US and things like that. So the networking map that they have is very, very big. And in regards to other non-academic based clubs and groups, yeah, there's there's chess club. I really enjoy playing soccer, so I did intramural soccer. And so with that, what you would do pre-COVID, you could go to the Maverick Activity Center, which is our big gym, and you can start a team and join whatever club because I think I want to say soccer is year round. But there's other things. There's you can do ping pong and things like that. And yeah, for whatever season, whatever sport is in that season, you can go make your own team, and then you can join and play against others. And then yeah, there's chess club and things like that. And so I know they meet every Friday in the evenings at Netterman Hall, and they play chess. And then there's also Moby, which is one that I really like a lot because I'm not the best person in coding. And Moby is one where you can do social coding, and they'll do a project for that session, how to make this type of game, and they'll teach you how to code about that. And so, yeah, there's like flyers everywhere, but now in the virtual world, there's emails that go out. And so like, I know that there's an engineering listserv that sends these out to the students. And so, watch your emails, and then, monitor Facebook, and then look at like, even on Microsoft Teams, which is what we utilize. If you go to the Teams and you search, you can find like a Teams a Teams, I guess, group for whatever organization you want to be a member of, and you can join it. And then they do like, because I know the Biomedical Engineering Society, we've been doing like a lot of like online meetings, our daily general meetings every other Wednesday. We do them through Teams. And then they did like a smart hospital tour, and so someone went and they were able to actually get the tour, and yeah, they like streamed it through a link. And so yeah, these organizations like they're adapting as well for COVID, and they're trying to engage and give their opportunities to their to give as many opportunities to their group members as they can.
Absolutely. It's one of the best parts is there's just now different avenues. So my question now kind of like piggybacks off of that. Have you found yourself maybe engaging more socially in this virtual environment, maybe so than you did pre-COVID?
Yeah, I definitely am. Facebook Live is a big thing. And yeah, I've noticed, yeah, I've been on Facebook more for sure. And then Instagram, yeah, I keep up with a lot of the updates through Instagram and things like that. I don't have a Twitter, or I would keep up with that too. But yeah, because like through social media, I sometimes like find out a lot more than I do with other avenues. And so I definitely keep those open. And but another drawback is like you can get kind of sucked into it, and like it kind of distracts you from not doing your work. And so, I just have to make sure that I prioritize getting like all my work and everything that I need to do for classes, for the ambassadors, done before I go Facebook for the day or something.
Absolutely. I will say there's like different updates on many of those platforms where you can enter like quiet time, or like, make it not active for a while. And I've heard of people that make their stuff inactive while they're studying for finals or midterms to really cut out the noise and focus in on that studying. So, everybody's got their different avenue for how they're going to go about engaging with their social media that kind of helps into their like social networking.
Yeah.
So my next question kind of really looks more at the professional side of it. So some of the professional organizations. So if I'm a brand new student and I don't know where to start with a professional-based organization because I realize I've got lots of the social ones, or maybe I'm just trying to broaden my network on that side.
Yeah.
Where would I go look for that, for the professional ones?
Yeah, like search out what professional organization is available for you. For like electrical engineering majors, we have the international, we have IEEE, and so that's the one that I was a big part of, and they did a lot of things to help me, because initially I didn't want to, like, I was a biology major and I switched to electrical engineering, so I struggled a lot, and so I would hang out a lot in the IEEE room, and that's kind of how I got involved. I was kind of forced to get involved in it because like I knew like a lot of the students, like I struggled with a lot of my like electrical based classes, and a lot of the students there like helped me a lot and like tutored me in my classes and things. However, for like the different other organizations like mechanical engineering, civil, they have their own platforms too. They have their own organizations, and I believe you can get involved. They have flyers for meetings, and with Microsoft Teams, and I think they're doing their own like weekly meetings as well. So you can see and be updated on what's going on with professional organizations for like mechanical or civil or industrial and things like that. And so yeah, I'm realizing how much more difficult it is pre-COVID, because I keep wanting to say, oh, there's flyers in Netterman Hall, but Netterman Hall isn't as packed and as utilized as it used to be.
Sadly not. So many times students get a little bit more involved in an organization on like becoming a particular officer, a particular role in that capacity. how does that help someone balance, like if you're, let's say, president or vice president of a student organization, how do you balance those job duties essentially with your classes and sleep? How would you advise someone to go about that process?
Get an organizational planner and just plan, like, allocate what you're going to do. Like, when do you have class? And then if you need to have, if you're president, do you need to have office hours for that organization? And so, just cut out some time for class, your schoolwork, just generalized studying, and then cut out time for that organization. Like, okay, well, I'm president of this, like account for what all responsibilities you have and how long it'll take you to, like if you have to update like a daily, monthly, like calendar for that organization, like how long is that going to take you? And so things like, just like, make sure you credit enough time to like the role that you've been given, because having like a leadership role like that, it really will help you stand out, and it'll like help boost your resume. But like, if you do it in a bad way, then, that's what you'll kind of get out of that, and it won't benefit you as much. So just make sure that you have enough time to allocate to all your responsibilities, because you never know like who is going to know about you or who you'll meet, and having them have a good impression of you is really, really good. And just making sure you don't kind of slack on your duties, because I've been a part of an organization where the president, you could tell it was like the vice president who did everything. And like ultimately when it came time to it, like we voted like officer of the year or whatever, and we voted for that VP to be officer of the year because they did such a great job, and they did like way like above and beyond. So yeah, just make sure that you have adequate time for everything and don't kind of like shirk on your duties.
Absolutely. And I think one of the ways to kind of think about like any of those leadership roles is more in the realm of it kind of being more like a pseudo job, essentially, kind of that there is a certain amount of commitment, time, and energy that you need to have in that particular role. So we're getting really close to the finals time, and many times this is when a lot of organizations host a lot of events prior to final exams, leading people in. How would you advise, or what advice would you give on picking out enough of the right social events so you kind of feel like you still got enough out of your semester, but at the same time planning out your studying time for an engineering major?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a calendar, and so I put everything on a calendar, and I say, okay, well, this is happening, but then I have a midterm the next week. And so, like I said, school is your number one priority. It's your job. And just make sure that, you get the school stuff taken care of before you do anything else, because at the end of the semester, your final grades are what you're going to be left with. And you want to make sure that those turn out good and that you do a good job on them. But like, you also, it's kind of like the balancing act. Like, you also want to have like a good social like experience too. And so for me, like, I personally, I wanted really good grades because I knew I was going to I needed to have them for medical school. And so that's kind of like how I see things. And so at the end of the semester, I wouldn't go out a lot. Like I wouldn't engage in a lot of different events, just because I knew that I had to study and just get the 4.0, get all the A's. And so even if I did go to an event, I would go for maybe like 30 minutes, and then I would kind of after that say, hey, it was great seeing y'all. Thanks for letting me come do this. And then I would go, and then I would just go study. But, if you're able to find a balance before finals, you're more than there are a lot of my friends, they were able to go out and do a lot of events and volunteer, whereas I was not, because our study styles are different. And so, they were able to for me, when finals coming up, I'm like, oh, this is the end push. I need to do well and they're like, oh, well, it's just another exam. And so I guess our outlooks were a little bit different, so they wouldn't be as stressed as I was. And so, yeah, they would make time to do all different events and things, and I would be at home studying. And so it's kind of how you see things and what you kind of want out of it and what you want out of your semester.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more on that. It's really you're here to get a degree, and you've got to make sure that's in check. You've got to make sure that you have everything ready for that. That means your final exams, and sometimes maybe a particular class you might have to study just a little bit more, or maybe put a little bit more effort into it, or all the meetings for a group project or for a paper, whatever it is. Sometimes you just have to put a little more oomph into that particular one. So to close this all out here, what last bits of advice would you give to anyone on how to be social as an engineering major?
You know, a lot of us are introverts, but, you know, just take that leap of faith, you know, go to that meeting, or go, you know, go to that part. Sorry, my dog's trying to lick my face. Don't lick my face, please. You know, go to that event, engage as much as you can, and you know, you never know who you'll meet, and you never know how they could impact your life. So the risks definitely outweigh the benefits, and yeah.
Absolutely. So that's pretty much the best advice that we can give you across the board. Is it's all about what you're going to make of it. Do what you can do, and just, you never know what can happen. Sometimes it can be a great positive experience where you meet someone brand new. On the screen, you should be seeing our contact information. If you have any further questions, by all means, reach out to us. We love to hear from students. We love to hear from you, and we love to connect with you all. Ishrat is actually one of our engineering ambassadors. If you have questions for any of our engineering ambassadors, contact him through our beanengineer@uta.edu email. And they also have office hours. This is a great way to get connected to another engineering student and learn a little bit more from them, while also, you know, establishing your network. So thank you so much, Ishrat, for all of your advice. It's been wonderful having you, and all of the great advice that's been given today.
Thank you.
All right, have a great rest of the day, and we will see you next week for another Ask an Ambassador.